Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Wisdom Weaver with Velva Dawn. So today as many of you know, I wrote a book called Unwinding the Divine Masculine, and this book is it's about unwinding the masculine within myself and allowing that to reflect, to the connections of the masculine in my life. And I am actually going to be bringing on my good friend, Nancy Toffanin. And we're going to be talking a little bit about what does it look like to date an alpha female in today's day and age, and how and what are we looking for in men and in relationships, because this has kind of been a really hot topic for many people. Good morning, Diana. Where people are like, what do women want? What do men want? Let's just open up this conversation today on this beautiful Saturday morning and really take a look at what that may look like for us. So I'm going to bring her on here right now. Good morning, Kevin. It's nice to see you here. So this is really for many people to chime in and let me know what your feedback is, right? How does it look for you in the dating world? What does that look like for you? What does it look like when we are balanced within ourselves and we are looking for that partner in our lives? Because that is the truth, is that you want to be able to do your own work. Good morning, Sam. Good morning, Trish. Before you get out there and begin connecting and having a relationship. So as I'm waiting for Nancy to come on here, I'm just going to find her here, and I don't see her yet. Okay. So Nancy, I'm just waiting for you to join here, and once you join, I will add you on here. So what is an alpha female exactly? And I did a little bit of research on this because I thought to myself a while ago, I know I'm a really strong female, but what does an alpha female look like? And as I began to look through the alpha female traits, I was like, oh, I am an alpha female. And in those traits, okay, here's Nancy. We have some of these qualities, right? We know what we want. We have our shit together, as many people will say, and we're ambitious. We want to have an impact on the world. We show leadership qualities, all of these things. So I'm going to bring Nancy on, and we are going to have this conversation because it's a hot topic, right? Many people are like thinking that an alpha woman means it's someone who's controlling, self-absorbed, and it's actually none of those things. So here we are. Good morning. Oh, you're sideways, Nancy.
Oh, how am I going to
right?
make this work? Maybe wait a sec here. Oh, okay.
You're good.
Good.
Yeah, you're good. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I am good. So a little bit of history here. Usually every morning, Nancy and I get up and we have coffee, and she's drinking her coffee here. And we talk about life. We talk about dating. We talk about what our goals are. We talk about spirituality. We talk about everything under the moon, actually, to be honest. And that is what is important in life, is to have those friends, to have that moment. So do you want to just introduce yourself to everybody who's watching?
Sure. My name is Nancy Toffanin, and I am a certified instructor in the Goddess Healing Matrix system. And I've been part of this program since 2014, and really just working on empowering myself, working through my own traumas, and just finding a balance in the divine masculine and feminine within myself.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Okay, so what drew you into wanting to have this conversation with me this morning?
Well, we were talking the other day, and we were talking about, how we really want men to take the lead. We really want to, first of all, just work, just have it manifest in front of us. What we've been working on in ourselves is balancing that masculine and feminine within us, and finding that divine masculine, or that masculine partner that's willing to step up and possess and have the qualities that we have strengthened within ourselves. So we were just talking and we were laughing and joking around about it. And then I don't know which one of us said we should do a live on this, or we should do a conversation. And we're very like-minded, so right away we were like, let's do this. And we really just kind of wanted it to be not super planned, because our obviously conversations in the morning aren't planned. So yeah, here we are.
Here we are. Well, good morning, and good morning to everybody who is watching and listening. And we're going to give you just a little bit of insight, and we want to hear from you, right? So we're going to be looking at the comments, and if there is questions that you have for us, we will definitely be answering those questions. So some of the things that I think we want to talk about is, I want to just briefly explain a little bit. Good morning, Cindy. Good morning, Kathy. What is the feminine and masculine? So I'm quickly going to go over this. So
Perfect.
In the spiritual aspect, for many of us, and it's what I teach and what I believe, is that we all have a feminine and a masculine energy within ourselves. And the feminine aspect is nurturing, it's receiving, it is intuitive, it is passion, it is sexual, it's creative. And then we have the masculine energy within ourselves, which is your focus, your direction, your leadership abilities, your decision making, your strength. Good morning, Tracy.
Good morning, Tracy.
And it's just allowing yourself to have those two qualities together.
Right.
So the one thing that Nancy and I do in the work that we do is we've really developed deeply how to master embracing our own feminine and our own masculine within ourselves, which in turn will have that ripple effect to attract that energy, whether it's a relationship, whether it is goals, whatever it may be, into your life in a balanced fashion, right? So what does it look like when, good morning, Ethan. What does it look like for a woman to sink into her feminine? Do you want to answer that one, Nancy?
So what does it look like when a woman sinks into her feminine? To me, it's really just embracing our true essence. It's really going within with our intuition. It's really listening to our personal guidance. It's trusting, ourselves, the universe. It's being sensual. Like for me, it's really just kind of being soft and being in flow, and just really not, just surrendering and being vulnerable and being open and learning to receive. That's a huge one for me. Yeah, and it's just learning to laugh and have fun and be playful and flirt, and a lot of the things that we've closed off in ourselves over the years. So that's what it is for me, is like really just not judging ourselves and just doing lots of self-care and lots of self-love and just embracing and accepting who we are.
Mm-hmm. And that's a really good point about when you feel good about yourself, as an alpha female, right? As a female who's confident, that begins to radiate in your world around you, and people can feel the vibe, and they just, whether they see your photo, they hear you talk, you walk by, they just have that knowing of what was that. They feel you, right? Good morning, Juliana. And that is a powerful thing. It's an inside job. Life is an inside job, right? Okay. The next question is,
thank you, Juliana.
Yeah. Can you still be an alpha female and allow your divine feminine to be open?
I think we can. I really do, because what I believe, and this is just my reflection, is that when we are an alpha female and we have all these masculine qualities that are healed within ourselves and these feminine qualities, and we are, becoming the best version of ourselves, or being successful or being independent, when you learn to let a man lead and when you learn to surrender, him being supportive and nurturing and being by our side and taking the lead, it just helps us to become more empowered and more in that alpha female. So I think we can do both. It's just trusting and surrendering, and it's just allowing that. But it's hard because you can't do it from a place where you're wounded. So you really need to do it from an empowered place, and just be confident. But I think that we can do both. I really think that we can integrate both energies and have it in a more safe, a safe place within ourselves to be accepted and just to be who we are, right? Because that's what the thing is. A lot of times we hide who we are. So yeah, I feel like we can for sure.
And I just want to add on that too. I think in the past, the alpha female was very masculine oriented in an imbalanced way, right? Where it was sheer force, and there wasn't a lot of stillness and receiving and sinking into being still. Because I think another quality as a female is being reflective, right? It's looking, being accountable, and allowing yourself to sit in that stillness to hear what it is that your next step is versus the mind and pushing forward through things in an old-fashioned system.
Agreed. That you just nailed it. And that's so true, right? I agree with all of that. Yeah, for sure.
So the other thing that I want to talk about is, why is it important? So we're going to talk a little bit about relationships. So whether you're married, whether you are dating female, male, same sex, whatever it may be, this still all applies, because there's usually one person in the relationship who is more masculine than feminine, right? So it still applies no matter what your gender orientation is. So what I want to ask you, Nancy, is why is it so important to allow the masculine to step up in a relationship?
I think it's important because we need to be in our own polarity. And like you said, we all, resonate towards a masculine or a feminine energy in any of us, right? And so I think it's important for us to be in our polarity, because if I'm looking for a man and I'm in my masculine, and whether he's in his masculine or feminine, it's never going to work out, because I'm going to be always in that pursuing, that action oriented. I'm going to be in the overgiving, and it's not going to work that way. So for me, it's important that I really anchor in my feminine, and I really anchor into that softness, that flow. And with a man, myself, I just think that if I don't allow him to lead, because for him, that's going to help him really in his purpose and his drive. It's going to help him, just listen, without trying to fix it, to be decisive, to make that action and to have his action matches his words. And it's just going to help with the honesty and truth in the relationship. So I think it is super important to let a man lead, for sure. Or that masculine energy to lead if you are in that type of relationship. Depends.
And this is a really big topic that I wanted to talk about between you and I is, I did a post this morning about, even though I'm an alpha female, I still have old-fashioned values when it comes to my personal relationship. And what I mean by that is, for myself, when I grew up, my granddad, my dad always opened the door for a woman. Chivalry has not died in my heart, right? And it's something that I still feel is very valuable, that, the car door is opened, or the man, asks you on a date. The man pursues you to show you that you can just receive and allow him to take the lead. And I grew up watching that in a small rural, agricultural setting. And so for me, even being strong, even though I lead people and I have my own business and I am strong that way, I still want a man who has the same values that I have. And those are old-fashioned for me. So how does that sit for you? Are you still an old-fashioned girl at heart?
Oh, 100%. I want all of it. Yeah, I want the doors being opened. I want the politeness. I want all of it, the compliments. Yeah, I really want that man to lead. I really want that old-fashioned aspect. I think that it's kind of gone by the wayside, and I always watch to see what people do. That's my thing. I always watch to see people's actions, and I really, yeah, I'm a strong woman. I'm independent. I know I can lead women. I know I can lead men, but it's more the fact that I want that old-fashioned relationship. I want to know that I can lean on someone. I want to know
Mm.
that there's someone there supporting me in my business, in my work life, in my personal life, because I know if I have that support, then I can just conquer anything. And I'm not saying I couldn't do it on my own. Of course I can, but I don't want to. I want to have that strong masculine presence, who is old-fashioned like me.
And there's another point that you just said there that I think is really important. And in my research, when I was writing my book, what I found is that you need to be okay on your own. You need to not be codependent and needing somebody else to be in your life. Like, to really, it takes courage to be single, to travel on your own, right? These are alpha female traits. You can travel on your own. You can go to a movie. You take yourself on a date. You're okay to go to the gym, when it's packed full of men in the weight area and they're all lifting weights, and you can walk in there and you can be yourself. That takes courage, and that's an alpha female who has the confidence. And I feel like when you have that foundation by yourself and you feel good about who you are, the person that you're going to attract will be of like-minded or higher vibration, which will allow the union between the two of you to have a healthy partnership versus a codependent relationship.
Agreed. Yeah. That's very much true. That's really, really true. And you know what? And that's super important, right? Because we do, yeah, like both of us are super strong women and we're both alpha females. But we both are very much in our feminine. We're both very sensual. And I feel like we treat each other the way we would want a man to treat us. Like, we say, "Good morning, beautiful." We might give each other an emoji of some kind, but we are collaborative, and we really, I feel like in friendships you need to build that relationship where you have that feminine energy,
Mhm.
where you express it, where you feel safe to, because I always say that, and I've said this, you and I have talked about this lots, that we're practicing with each other. Well, now you're in a relationship, but we were practicing with each other, being in our feminine
Mhm.
and really noticing when we're in our masculine and when we are doing that action base, and just catching ourselves. And sometimes it's just being aware that we're doing it. So it's a super huge gift in all of our relationships, I think.
And the other thing about an alpha female, I've read so many different memes. It's like, she doesn't rarely travel in a pack. She travels solo.
Yeah.
And it's true, she does, but she travels with really strong women, right? Women that
Mhm.
lift each other up. I did this TikTok the other day and it really hit home for me about we need to quit the competition part as women, as alpha females. We need to lift each other up and to support each other and to love each other unconditionally, which I feel is key, because when you love yourself unconditionally, it opens the door for every relationship, whether it's your children, your parents, your spouse, everything. It would be really important um, to do that. I see Cindy's got a comment there. So these are things, I'm going to read this comment for a second. She says, sure, it would be nice to be treated extra special from your significant other, but not realistic for it to continue. So do you have disappointment? Okay. So that's a good point, Cindy. Is at the beginning of a relationship, there is that honeymoon phase, there is the lust, there is the passion, and that connection. And my goal is, as partners, I think you have to work on it together. You have to light that fire you have to keep that romance going. I know I was in a long-term marriage myself before. So I get this, Cindy. I get what you're saying. But I feel like if you need to foster that in your relationship, you have to keep that flame. Sometimes you plan, those things. Maybe you show up, I shouldn't even say this, in a trench coat for your partner, right?
Yes.
You allow yourself to ignite that fire to keep that going. It's a mutual thing, but one person has to start it, because I think many times you sit back and you wait, for your partner to initiate, but it works hand in hand. And I think it's important to keep that romance going in all the years. And that's my goal, certainly in my relationship.
Yeah. Well, and to me, it's communication, right? That's what you've been saying. It's talking about it when you feel like that. Because I always say, start out the way you mean to carry on.
Yes.
So if somebody starts really low, then I'm going to be out, because that's not going to get any better from there. But just say that they start out the way that you want them to.
Okay.
And then, there's always an expectation, right? Are they going to follow through with this? And sometimes they don't. I just had it happen to me recently. And sometimes they do. But the key to it is communication. The key to it is when you start to notice that someone has shifted, and that's our intuition that we don't give enough credit to. When you notice that someone shifted, or they're not doing the same things, or then it's just talking to them about it and saying, hey, I'm feeling this. How are you feeling about this? And then I think that it opens up that conversation, because we can't all feel sexy. We can't all feel beautiful, and we cannot feel on all the time. It's just not going to happen. We just can't. So there are going to be days where you're going to give 80% and your partner's going to give 20. And some days it's going to be opposite. He's going to give 80 and you're going to give 20. But the key to it is to remain consistent and to be in flow with it, and to communicate when it's not going there.
So what you just said there rings in my head all the time, and it did in the dating world, when you would say to me, start out the way you mean to continue. And what I believe you're saying with that is, we all show up as our best selves at the beginning of any relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it's, a dating career. You always show up at the beginning as your best self.
Of course.
But can you continue that
Yeah.
throughout, right? Of course, some things are going to slide, but you want to be your authentic self,
Yes.
right? As well as your best self. Because if you're just doing certain things to, win someone over or to schmooze them, right? It's not going to last.
Yeah.
And that is almost like false advertising, right?
Well, you can't hold that frequency.
Yeah.
You just can't hold that energy, because if it's not who you truly are, and if you're not being authentic, you're never going to hold that. And that's the key to it. It's like, just be yourself and be who you are, and I think a key to that is loving yourself and just accepting yourself. But it's just show up as you are. And if that isn't good enough, one thing I've learned in life, there will always be another man. Yeah. It's just something I've learned.
Nancy would always say that there's always another man around the corner, and
there's always another man,
right? It just made me laugh, because I thought, right, I just got to go around the corner. So, that is funny. Okay, do you want to read what Kathy has said there?
I find that when you have that talk with the other person, that's when they either pull away or break up, because they don't want to put in the effort. 100%. But then that shows you your answer. I'll let you answer that, Velva Dawn, but that just shows you get your message, right? But I'll let you answer that.
Well, and it's true. The one thing that I really want to reiterate here really strongly is that because you're dating and your relationship fails, it doesn't mean that you have failed. No. Chances are dating is sorting. It's a process, right? Where you're sorting, you're like, is this a fit for me? Does this puzzle piece fit together, right? Just because you're physically attracted to someone and they have some of the check marks doesn't necessarily mean they're going to fit as a whole in your life. That's why we date, is because we sort through that process. So, Kathy, I totally agree with you that, you know, if you share what's important to you and they step away, they're just not meant for you, right? And that's totally okay. And I think that's a good thing to figure out before you invest a lot of time down the road so that you can, you know, move forward. I wanted to read this too. Tracy says, communication leads to understanding, which is the most important, I believe. I agree with you 100% on that too.
Agreed.
Tracy, communication is important in every. Cindy goes, can you be a forever dater?
I'll try, Cindy. Joking, joking.
You know, that's actually really funny. She says too, I don't want to start over for the fifth time. You know, and what's so funny about that is I don't want to be a forever dater either myself, right? It's a process of learning, at looking at what's working and what's not. So yeah, that's good. Okay, thank you for your comments. Okay, the other thing that I want to ask, let's talk a little bit more about this alpha female.
Okay.
Kathy says, I'm 13 years of dating. Well, you know what, girl? This is your year because the number 13 is a lucky number. It's the goddess number. So this is your year. It's definitely something that's important. Okay. So the point I want to talk about here, and I mentioned this at the beginning, is you've got your shit together and nobody questions that. So let's talk a little bit about that, Nancy. What does that mean to you in your life, being a strong alpha female who's in tune with her feminine and masculine?
So for me, that means that you're just super confident. And what that means is that even if someone did question it, that I don't take it personally. I don't listen, because really when you have your shit together, you just are super confident and you really trust in yourself and you trust in how you feel and your intuition. And you just kind of come off as a confidence that, you know, people won't mess with you. And if they do mess with you, it's not going to affect you. So you just being that super confident self. For me, I think personally, it's the, you know, it's just not allowing, you know, it's shutting it down. If some, you know, it's, and sometimes it's just looking at source. And I've really learned that a lot of times, you know, we can only do so much mirror work with things. And I always take my responsibility and accountability, but I'm going to show up as the best version of myself every time. And I cannot control how other people do it. And I just don't think people will mess with us. Sorry, I don't know if I answered that properly. I was really trying to come up with the right answer, but.
So what I know, that's good. I mean, because that's exactly how you see it. I feel like when you've got your shit together means you have done your inside work and you continually do that work. So you don't just show up and arrive and skid in there, you know, like, okay, I'm here. Let's get this party started. It's like you are continually going to do your work, being accountable, looking inside, reflecting, you know, leading, being creative, being that initiator, right? And allowing yourself to be all of those things continually moving forward because you've done the deep work inside, right? So I feel like, to me, that's what it means when I say, you know, I've got my shit together. We all have those ups and downs in life, the endings and the beginnings, but it's what tools do you use internally to move yourself through those?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Agreed.
Okay. So let's talk about what are 5 things that you as a strong alpha female are looking for in a man?
So I really thought about this morning. And for me, one of the things I really need is purpose. I need a man with purpose. And what I mean by that is not only does he have to have a purpose, but also mean what is his essential purpose? Because I know what my essential purpose is. So for me, I would want our essential purpose to be to help each other become the best version of ourselves. I need somebody open-minded because I'm spiritual. What I'm realizing lately is, to me, I'm like, oh, do I want someone spiritual? Do I not want someone spiritual? Yeah, having someone spiritual is a bonus, but open-minded is really a huge thing for me. The other thing I really want is leadership, because I'm a very strong leader and I need a man that's also in leadership. What I find with men is they're very good at leadership, but it's funny how they're not able to lead in a relationship. So I really had to reflection on that. I also want a good listener, and I also want someone who's attractive, someone who takes care of himself, just someone who is really healthy and really has an active lifestyle, because I have an active lifestyle. I don't know how many that is, but yeah.
And no, that's really important, because I think over the years, watching, even, your parents, I watched my parents in a relationship and a marriage, and there were certain qualities that we draw from our mother and our father, and watching those qualities. And I know in my first marriage, the qualities were very similar to what my dad showed in a relationship, right? It was the strong, outdoor, the rough and tumble. And
Yeah.
I've shifted my own perceptions in a relationship as I have evolved, right? So for me, what you said about being open-minded, it's a no-brainer, I think, for many of us that are alpha, female, evolving, spiritual, those of us that have crystals in our bras. It's like we want a man who isn't necessarily, on the spiritual level that we are, but that is open to thinking and having a different perception, to allowing yourself to understand that there's many different views in the world, and that there isn't just one staunch view moving forward, right? So I think being open-minded is really important, and it's really valuable, right? As you had said.
Yes, agreed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then physical attraction, right? You've got to have the chemistry. I mean, good God, I can't tell you how many dates that I went on in the past where, you go up and there's the physical attraction, and then you start talking to the person. And I also need intellectual, right? I need the intellectual component. I need someone who's witty, who's fiery, who's a bit
Yeah.
edgy, has a bit of that bad boy energy
Yeah.
combined with, the intelligence and the good heart, right? So my combination is kind of a different ball of wax than, well, ours is probably very similar because we, have that quality. But okay, Juliana is saying they don't need to believe the same. They just need to support with love. Yes. And that is very true, Juliana, that they do need to support with love
Yeah.
and without judgment, unconditionally. So that's really important for those of us that are woo-woo, and that are into that spiritual part, which is really important. Okay, what you talked about confidence, right, Nancy? That it's
Yeah.
important that men have confidence.
It's because I'm super confident. And now obviously with age, I'm becoming more and more confident. I think it's something we always work on. But I honestly, I need a man that's confident, because I find when a man's not confident, and I know this is going to be our next thing we're going to talk about. I find when a man is not confident, then they're worried about other men or other people, or, they just don't have that confidence within themselves. And to me, I want someone strong. I want someone confident. I want someone to be like, I'm not worried. You're mine. I know you're
Mm-hmm.
mine. And
Mm-hmm.
I will put my hand on your back in public. I will put my arm around you. I will show the world that you are mine. And it does not matter, right?
Mm-hmm.
So confidence is a huge thing for me. It has to be confident.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Oh,
Okay. Ainsley's definitely found you ladies this morning for a reason. Alignment at its finest. Thank you for talking
um,
about this topic. Yeah,
you're
you are welcome.
welcome.
Yeah, you're so welcome, honey. I just feel it's so needed. So let's talk about that. I want to talk about this topic because it's a hot one for me.
Yeah.
It's what you just mentioned. It's like when you are confident and you are not afraid to show yourself. And I am going to say this straight out. There's many times in the years previous where I would hide myself. And now I
Mhm.
am not hiding myself. I'm not hiding who I am. I want to portray myself being a classy, intelligent, sexy, smart, independent woman. But with that comes, men that are looking at your images on social media and they're hitting on you and they are trying to, some of them are really disrespectful, right? And as an alpha female, I've been learning to deal with this because I am in a relationship and I am happy to be connected to the man that I am dating. And you have to shut that shit down, right? As a woman, you have to shut down when people are approaching you, wanting to hit on you, right? And it's respect in both ways. There are women that have been like that for men too on
Yes.
social media, but it's about respecting your partner, right?
Yes. Agreed. Yeah. That's really true. And and it's like, and it's just, the thing is, when you are an alpha female and you are in your light and you're always working on your vibrational frequency,
Mm-hmm.
you are going to turn heads. You are going to have people messaging you. You are going to get all that stuff. But it's all on how we react. And I mean, there's a way to shut things down with kindness, but it's just, but for sure, it's just being confident in yourself and confident in knowing that you can shut it down. I mean, it doesn't always mean we have to. Our partner can shut it down for us if they want, and they can be the hero, but it really doesn't matter. At least we know we can do it. And I think that's confidence in itself.
I think it is too. And that's what's really, really important, is just having the confidence to know what you want and to have boundaries. Boundaries are another good thing that you need to have as an alpha female, in many different areas of your life.
Right.
Okay, I want to talk about this. We're reading, there's this really good article about being an alpha female, and it just resonated with me totally. Let's talk about emotional intelligence for a
Oh,
moment.
that's a good one.
So what is your perception in being an alpha female and connecting with men, with females, with emotional intelligence? What does that look like for you?
Well, it's something that I find, what I'm finding is some of the men that, I'm not saying all, some of the men that are emotionally intelligent, I'm finding they're a lot in their feminine. So I'm trying to really meet a man who is emotionally intelligent and is fully in his masculine. The emotional intelligence is super important to
Mhm.
me. What it means to me is that you're working on your things. You're working on your wounds. You might be reading self-help books. You might be going for healing sessions. You might be going to counseling. It's really just kind of recognizing why you get triggered, how you get triggered, tools and ways to calm your nervous system. Just kind of working on yourself. That's what emotional intelligence, I think, is. It's just kind of being aware of the dynamic between the masculine and the feminine, and really just kind of looking at, why do we do things,
Mhm.
right? Like I said this morning, I was writing out points and I thought, oh, Nancy, that's so action based. That's so masculine. And so now I'm not even looking at what I wrote. I'm just being in flow, because that is the way you have the best conversation. And in the morning, Velva Dawn and I are not sitting there with pens and papers reading what we thought of the night before. We're just in flow. Sorry, I went off topic a little bit. But with the whole
Yeah.
emotional intelligence, it's just, to me, it's working on yourself. It's knowing what your boundaries are. It's knowing what's acceptable for you in a relationship and what isn't. What's a deal breaker? It's just kind of knowing what works for you.
And that's important. So I would say emotional intelligence is kind of the hot keyword in the dating world right now. It's like, many of us are saying we want a man that's emotionally intelligent. My brother actually talked to me about that. He's like, Dawn, what's his emotional IQ? And I'm like, what is that? So I went and did a lot of, research and reading and getting to know what that means, because I feel like that was something that I was lacking, and what I was looking for in a partner
Yes.
is someone who is emotionally intelligent. Because if they're not, it's going to show up um, immediately. So Cindy says, how do I sort out if a man has emotional intelligence? Do you want to answer that?
So for me, I really just pay attention to, are they actively listening to me when I speak?
Yeah.
So if I'm starting to date someone, are they listening? Are they doing all the talking? And this is something I had to learn within myself. Velva Dawn can vouch for it, that I am a talker. I am passionate, so I express a lot, and I've had to learn to be quiet. But are they listening? Are they actively
Mm-hmm.
listening? Are they supportive? When they do screw up, because we're all in this human 3D element, no matter how much you work on your vibrational energy. So when they do screw up, do they acknowledge it? Do they talk about, their pain, their hurt? Are they able to be vulnerable? Are they able to connect with emotional intimacy? So those are the kind of things. Like, I would just start talking to someone. You can't do it all on the first date, but I would ask them questions. And I would also, I would also find out, because in talking to people, you'll learn, do they meditate? I'm just going to use that as an example, or do they read self-help books? Are they looking at their life, at all the relationships they've been in? And it's not the blame game. So you're taking responsibility and ownership for your part in the relationship. And yeah, I'm not sure, but I think that's kind of what it is.
Okay, so for those people who, because not everybody, I just quickly pulled it up here. What are 5 components of emotional intelligence? So self-awareness, it's the ability to recognize and understand your moods and emotions and how they affect others, right? It's just like, Maya Angelou would always say, be mindful of how your emotions are going to affect a crowd, right? If you're in a bad mood, get yourself centered and get it together before you pick up the phone or before you connect with somebody else. That is your responsibility, is to
Yes.
manage your emotions rather than dumping on to someone else. The second one is self-regulation. So it's your impulses and your moods before acting. Many of you that know me would probably say, Velva Dawn, I don't know if you've got that one mastered, but I just like to honor my inner child, right? And spontaneity. The third one is internal motivation, right? Fourth one is empathy, right? Are you
Yep.
empathic?
Yes.
Do you feel what other people are feeling? Can you sit down when somebody's crying and put their arm around them on the floor? Or, are you shut down? You want to look at these things in your relationship because you want a partner who is going to be empathetic towards you. And social skills, right? How are they? That's one thing I always look at in the dating world, is how does that person connect with the waitress or the waiter? Do they open the door for you on that date? How do they connect with the community? If they have children, just watching all of those qualities helps you with emotional intelligence. So the basic definition is the ability to understand and manage your own emotions, as well as recognize and influence the emotions around you. So that sums up emotional
Yeah.
intelligence. And we're going to wrap that part up because we're really going to focus now on, the alpha female and sinking into your feminine and masculine.
Yes.
Okay. What is the next thing that you have on your sheet, Nancy, about learning? Let's talk about that. Always being a student in life.
Yeah, that's really important to me. I'm always learning. So for me, like even this whole letting a man take the lead thing, I'm watching TikToks and I'm reading
Yeah.
Instagram and I'm
Yeah.
looking on Facebook and I'm following all of these men and I'm constantly learning. And some of them, I think, yeah, you're an ass. Sorry, I don't know if I could say that on here, but I still listen to them because there's a message in there that I'm still going to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the learning component is constant because I'm learning not only things about myself every day, about how I react, how I am, but I'm also learning about people as well. So the learning component is just, learning how important it is to be regulated and have a regulated nervous system and to be calm and to be really centered. And that's that whole alpha female of really just being grounded in our own energy. And I just feel like that's really going to help us for sure.
Mm-hmm. Which leads to something I want to talk about now. Being a strong, confident woman means that you can hold your own in a room of men, right?
Yeah.
Specifically, or a room of strong people, that you can, make conversation, that you are confident, you can answer those questions. And I feel like when you're that alpha, you haven't come by this quality easy, right? You've had difficult things in your life or put in situations where you've had to adapt and understand that. And I want to ask you this question because it brings, where do you think you learned growing up in watching a female to operate with strong alpha qualities? Was it your mom? Was it your grandma? Was it your sister?
Hmm. Interesting question. Where did I
Mm-hmm.
learn a strong alpha? I'd probably say parts of my mother. I mean, there's two parts of her. There was the part that, was totally, doing everything for my father. But then there was the other part of her that, when we would go to a party or we would go to an event, she was dancing with the other men and never doing anything wrong to my father, but just being in her light. And so really just watching my mother and how she could talk to anyone, whether they were male, whether they were female. She was always very confident. So probably I'm going to choose her because
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot. She would love to dance and have fun and laugh. And and yeah, and actually what Juliana just said is so true, right? It's also mentors, like you, Velva Dawn. And it's like just learning from our mentors. That's a really good point, Juliana, that's another way. But for my childhood, I'm going to say it
Mm-hmm.
was definitely my mother. My grandparents were all in Italy. So I didn't really like have an opportunity to learn from them. But I did learn from my mom and I learned
Mm-hmm.
from my aunt, and they were probably the strongest women I know.
Mm-hmm. And, that's what I mean about those strong, we talked about the strong masculine roots, but there's the strong feminine, right? Like my grandma too was a very strong English woman, and she taught me all those qualities from sewing and baking and how to be a lady, right? How do you dress, when you go out, and
Yeah.
how do you match your earrings to your clothing, right? So what Juliana said is very accurate too. I feel in the spiritual world, watching the females that are alpha with their own businesses, creating their own pieces of work, leading and empowering, other women and other men, shows you the qualities that maybe you want to still ignite within yourself by looking
Yeah.
around you and being that eternal student, which is important.
Right.
Um, right. Okay. The other thing that I want to talk about here is that you're ambitious. So, what are some things that you have in your life that you're wanting in a partner still? Like some goals, your ambitions.
So goals that I want in a partner. So is that sorry, is that what your question is?
Sure. Yeah. Let's start with that.
Okay. So I think for me, one of my big life goals is to live my life purpose. So I think that that's what I want in a partner, someone who is really open to the idea of non-retirement. And because to me, working in spirituality, it's one of my loves. It doesn't feel like work. So to me, it's like a life purpose. So I feel like within a partner, it would be that. The other goal I have is to really master sacred union and tantric intimacy. So that's the other thing I'm looking for in a partner. I'm looking for a connection on all levels. I'm looking for a deep spiritual connection because there's a lot of things that I want in my relationship that I won't settle for less than that. Yeah, and I find that also I want somebody that's really driven like me, somebody who's really ambitious. I don't want someone that's going to lay on the couch every night and watch Netflix. That's not me. I mean, it can be me, trust me, but it's not who I want to be. I want to
Mm-hmm.
go for walks. I want to be writing out our goals. I want to have a life plan together. So I think that's like the things I'm looking for in a partner.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense.
It does make sense. And to me, ambition is sexy, right?
Yeah,
Having a partner that is ambitious, that
there.
has goals, that is, it's like, what is that you're looking for, which is important to get clarity, right? Like I always say to everybody, when you're beginning any relationship in your life, you want to understand your strong feminine qualities and your strong masculine qualities, right? Because if your goal is to be, this strong female, there was a point in my life in the previous where I had a relationship where my counselor would say to me, Velva Dawn, you're pulling the wagon, he's in the wagon and he's falling out of the wagon and you're still pulling the wagon. And she's like, at what point are you not looking at this partner is not vibing with your ambition? But
Agreed.
I had to go through that to understand that this feels heavy for me and this is not going to be a good fit, right?
Right.
So don't beat yourself up if you have the wagon scenario, or you are being a sugar mama for a while and you're like, and Tracy goes, I can relate. I know there's many of
We
us
all
on
can
here
relate.
that can, right? And the other thing that I think we all need to remember is that, sometimes our emotions bring us into a relationship and there's the lust, there's the chemical, chemistry going on. And you don't see that maybe this isn't a good fit, but all of your friends and all of your family is like, there's a million red flags here. Can you not see them? Right.
Yeah.
And then you start to look and you're like, maybe they're right. So Jody's like, I love you ladies. Sorry, my Facebook is
Bye,
misbehaving.
Jody.
Yeah. So don't be afraid if you fail forward, right? Because
Yeah.
failure is what gives you the deepest wisdom. Don't you agree?
Yes, I agree. It's where we learn the most is when we fail. I think if you're always succeeding, you don't learn anything. It's when you fail that, it's good. Yeah.
So what else would you like to share this morning that I haven't covered here about the topic?
Let me see here. Let me just look at this little thing that you kind of sent me, the things that you like. I think we've covered pretty much all of it. Let's talk about trust maybe, or vulnerability, or surrendering, because that's a good topic where a lot of people, they just can't surrender or don't even know how to surrender.
Okay. So that is a really good statement. So what does surrendering look like to you?
To me, it means allowing receiving fully in every area of my life. To me, surrendering means just letting go and not worrying about the what if, not having fear. To me, surrendering just means being totally open, vulnerable, having intimacy. It's really just exposing our deepest part of ourselves. And I think the key to surrendering for me is we always have an expectation when we're going to be vulnerable with someone, or we're going to be intimate, or maybe we're going to surrender, that they're going to do it back. But I think the key for me is learning that not to have an expectation. So I'm surrendering because it's what I'm choosing for myself. It's how I want to move forward in life and in relationships. And how someone accepts that, that's up to them. But I can't be worried or disappointed in their reaction, because maybe just on that time, they're not quite there. But us being vulnerable and surrendering and being open, it allows them the space and it gives them the support that when they're ready, they can open up and be that way as well. We just can't take it personally if they're not there.
Well, and yeah, I agree with you. And true surrendering to me means completely letting go of control. It's trusting
Yeah.
that whatever the outcome is going to be, and there's my throat chakra, is going to be, right? It's letting your guard down, right? Because when you've been hurt before, you've got those four walls that are around that little heart chakra. And it's like, I'm going to protect myself and I'm going to keep you at a distance so that I don't get my little heart hurt again, right? But when we keep those walls and that armor up, it doesn't allow you to feel deeply. So, the thing that I know you're going to relate with as soon as I say this is, so many times you yourself, and my dad always says this to me, Dawn, just take it slow. And those of you that know me being an Aries fire, I don't take anything slow. It's like Mach 100, right? Whether I'm coming down the stairs in a laundry basket, with my snorkel mask, right? Or, you know, doing a book on dating and I'm being completely authentic and exposing myself because it's raw authenticity. And I feel like that is the spice of what is missing in life. Yeah, Tracy goes, right, no slow here also. I know, my friend. You are my other spicy full-blown friend, right? We're all like, all together we're danger, right? It's just this fire that is ignited. But I feel like everybody lives life in your own comfort, right?
Yes.
And my comfort is in surrendering has taken a little bit more time because you have to understand what makes you feel safe to open yourself up, but also reflecting on that, right?
Yes.
And being willing to have the emotional intelligence to be accountable and say, I think I need to go back to counseling because I think there's a few walls that are still here, or I need to meditate and reflect.
Yeah. Yeah, very good point. Actually, as you were saying all that, you were building up the fire inside my body. I could feel this big heat surge. I'm like, yeah, all that passion, get it going, get it stoked. No, and that's true, right? It's just that trusting and that letting go of control. And you and I both are very much in control of ourselves. Well, we have been in the past, and I think we're getting a lot better. But we used to be very in control of ourselves, right? Like it was something we both had to
Mhm.
work on, was just, letting go of that control because, and that's why I think as women, a lot of times we take the lead in a relationship because we can't let go of that control. So we think, well, oh my God, if they don't text, well, then I need to text, or I
Mhm.
need to call, or I need to pursue, or I need to ask them out, or let them know I'm available this weekend. But that's all action based and it gets us nowhere. But it's our own, if we just let go of control and just be in the flow of it, it's going to happen for sure.
It's the stillness. The stillness is feminine, right?
Yeah.
And we're seeing that in this new patriarchal society where the stillness is the act of just being still because masculine is very
Yeah.
oriented, right? And feminine is very nurturing. If you look back to my grandparents, right? My grandma was the one who stayed at home, raised the kids, and my
Yeah.
granddad was the one bringing the money in and doing all of that. Now, as we are in the alpha female stage, this is what I'm talking about. It's like the females are working, they're bringing in their own income, they have their own careers, and so do the masculine.
Yeah.
So, for my state, when I was married, I stayed home and raised my girls, as did my husband at the time, but I also had my own career. So we had that balance where, we had our strengths and we would move those forward. And I feel like in today's age, being an alpha female does not mean that you expect the man, to be the one who is less than, but you're equal and you want that respect.
Yeah. Going with the flow is feminine, Cindy. Even though a lot of men still go with the flow, but I feel like it's more of a
Mm,
feminine
I agree.
state.
It is a feminine state.
Yeah.
And I don't think any of us want the masculine to be feminine, right? We
No.
still want those traditional qualities, but it's about the balance within,
Right.
which in turn will invite the balance
Yeah.
externally.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the key is that, and I know I've done this a lot in the past, is really not settling. But, I want to talk about this going slow, going fast thing for a second. Yes, I used to always say that, you should always take it slow, get to know someone. There's like, get to know someone for 4 seasons. But what I've come to realize and learn, and this is how I said about you and I, how we always look at every situation from so many different perspectives. And that's what I love about us. Whether it's a negative situation or a positive situation, we look at it from all different ways. And what I found with that is the fact that when you are in alignment with your masculine and feminine within yourself, the type of man that you're going to attract is going to be what you're looking for. So if you're a feminine, you're going to be attracting that masculine, if that's what you want, a masculine energy. someone that's in their divine masculine. So what I'm about to say is that when you are in that alignment within yourself and you meet that masculine that's in alignment within themselves, they have that emotional intelligence, they've worked on themselves, they have all the qualities on your list, and my list is like this. So they have all your qualities, or most of them. What is going to happen is there is no slow or fast. You could be married in 2 months or 3 months because you are in that sacred connection. You are in that higher connection state. And what I truly believe is, and this is just with age and awareness, that it doesn't, you could know someone wrote this a few steps up. You could know someone for 5 years, 5 minutes, or 15 years. It does not equate the level of connection you have with that person.
True.
It just doesn't. So it really doesn't matter. So if somebody got married in 6 months, depending what stage that they're at, if they have a lot of wounds, maybe I might be a little worried, but that's still their thing. So I'd let them do their dance. And I believe that the more you work on yourself and the more connected you become to your source, you're going to attract a partner that is going to be at the same level as you are. So if it's right to get married in 6 months, you will get married in 6 months. And there will be no wrong or right because it's where you are.
Well, because that's a very masculine perception, right? That there's a timeline. You're totally true. I mean, I just experienced that myself. In my previous relationship, we dated for an entire year, and I didn't feel the connection that I do with this amazing man that I'm dating now. It was like, it's instant, right? So I feel like you're right. And I think it was, what's his name? Brown. Oh, he wrote a lot of books. He said exactly that. It's not the length of time that you've known someone that you feel a connection. It's the vibration and the quantum physics of, meeting in that connection together through the auric field, which is true.
It is true.
So we are pretty much at our time here, that we're keeping everything together. Yes, it is Jeff Brown. Thank you, Tracy. So I just really wanted to do this. I want to thank you for sharing authentically, because, I value you as my other alpha female. And a lot of the females that are on here are very alpha female too. And your friends and connection is important to me, that we support each other and we love each other. And for all the men out there, there is many single women out there like Nancy, that are evolved and connected and are looking for that relationship. So don't be afraid to step in and step up. And it's all part of having and mastering the feminine and masculine, whether we're alpha or not. We still need that divine union within ourselves. So thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Have an amazing weekend.
Thank you, everyone, for joining.
If you want more information, you can always go to velvadawn.com. And I have a brand new book called Unwinding the Divine Masculine, all about dating.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.